I'd like to welcome everybody out to our planning commission meeting this evening. It's 7 o'clock and we like to start on time. So welcome, appreciate you coming. Before we begin this evening, I just wanted to mention that the Brooks Estate subdivision that was on our agenda has requested to be removed. So I just wanted to let you people, if anyone's here in connection with that particular item on the agenda, I don't want to have you sit here all night long because they've requested to be postponed. We're going to turn the volume up a little bit. Can you guys in the back hear all right? Okay, we're going to turn it up. Okay, can you hear me now? All right. So I will repeat my announcement. The people that were, sorry, I can't talk tonight. The Brooks Estate subdivision has requested to be removed from the agenda this evening. So I'm just letting you know in advance so that you don't sit here all night long in case you're here for just that purpose.
Can I just make a clarification on that too? I know that there's been some discussion. I think it's a little bit confusing because we have a current land use map and we have a future land use map. And I heard from a few people that they were under the impression this was a rezone request to make this an R3. Even though that's not what it is. That property was zoned R3 clear back before 2016. This was for a preliminary approval review. So not a rezone, just so everybody is aware. Our future land use map shows that that area is R2, but the current land use map shows that that portion is already zoned R3. So I just wanted to clarify that.
Okay, that being said, then we will call the meeting to order and open our meeting by a pledge of allegiance led by Commissioner Prince, and then we'll have a reverence led by Commissioner Widdowson. All please rise.
I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Father in heaven, we're grateful we can be here tonight, grateful for this good community that we live in, grateful for the country that we live in and the freedoms that we enjoy. Pray that we will have a good meeting tonight. Help us to be understanding of each other, help us to be kind as well, and help us to accomplish the things that we have laid out. Grateful for those who have served our country and who continue to serve our country. Please bless them and their families. We say this in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen.
Bryce, please turn on your microphones.
Sure will.
All right. The first item on our agenda this evening is a consent item regarding approval of our minutes from our meeting dated October 12th, 2023. Commissioners, have you had an opportunity to review those minutes?
Yes.
Are there any changes that you would like to see made to those? Okay, seeing none, then I would entertain a motion to approve the minutes of our October 12th planning commission meeting.
I'll make a motion that we approve the minutes from the October 12th planning commission meeting.
I'll second.
So we have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. So on our agenda this evening, the first item is a conditional use permit request for Bryce Clark for an oversized structure. This is a public hearing. Let me see if our city engineer has anything to tell us about this.
Sure.
Brian? Thank you.
So this is an oversized structure. If this will look pretty familiar to most everyone here. It's on 5500, highlighted there in blue. Bryce has already come in here and gotten the approval for the oversized structure last month that we came in. The structure that we were talking about is the garage in the back, and so you can kind of see it on there on the plans. And right here you can see the height was indicated, but it was forgotten to take the height. So they took the height from the foundation wall and not from the foundation sticks out of the ground a little bit. And so it was reported 27 and some change, but it's actually 30 feet from the ground, not from the foundation wall. So this is to increase that, take it to 30, so that it's in compliance.
Okay,
Is this where I speak?
you can speak now.
Okay.
Introduce yourself and give us your address,
I'm
please.
Bryce Clark, and we're building a house at 4790 5500, right around the corner. And as you can see, the architect didn't put the elevation on there. And so when I figured it out, that's how I did it. I called my truss manufacturer and then got the height of that and then just added it to the 14-foot walls there and missed the foundation wall. I did it real quick and that was my bad. So anyway, when we pulled a permit, Nate caught that and had to deny it. So I came scrambling in here because I was trying to get concrete in the ground, and again, that's why we're here. We have to go through this process again. So it was just a miss on my end. So hopefully there's no problem there. So.
Okay. Thank you. Commissioners, do you have any questions for Mr. Clark?
That's the only thing that's changed is.
Yeah, just it hasn't even changed. It was always the same. It was just it was miscalculated on my end. So
So my only suggestion would be to make sure that in the future, that dimension is showing on your plans.
yeah, good call. So my house has that. I don't know why he did not put it on the plans there. So
Can you remind me what the height of your house is?
34.2. So it's still under, and it's not quite 30. It's 29.6, 29.7. So I just rounded up, play it safe a little bit. So it's under that. But Nate, I think he put a tape measure on my plans itself and calculated it, and because it's like 1/4 inch to 1 foot and things. And after it got kicked back, I threw it on there and thought, yep, he is right. So
Well, we have a lot of confidence in our building inspector.
he's awesome. Good to work with.
Okay. Any other questions for Mr. Clark from the commissioners? Okay, thank you. This is a public hearing, and if there is someone here who would like to address this request, please come forward now. Give us your name and address, please.
Kirk Campbell, 4904 South, 5500 West. And my understanding was this wasn't to be approved until the irrigation issue was figured out. And as of yet, we have 0 irrigation turns that haven't failed.
I believe our approval was subject to that.
Yeah, we put the condition on that was to be resolved prior to.
Yeah, he had one water turn through it and they wanted. the
Yeah, but
second
there's
one.
been 0 where the ditch has not failed. The ditch has failed the last 2 turns.
So the approval should still be contingent on that.
That
Not fair.
lawsuit being
So-
settled.
Yeah, and he just pushed it back 60 days. So
But our approval was contingent on that being resolved, so that still stands. This doesn't change anything with that, it's just changing the height that
Sure.
it was presented to us.
also, he doesn't have any building permits or anything.
Not yet.
Oh, that's
Yeah,
weird.
That's why
He's got a footing foundation forward.
is that true?
Yeah.
You have footing and foundation. Do you have a building permit?
No, do you want me to get up there and speak?
let's talk about it.
Okay, so I came in wanting the approval for this, and I had to go through this. I asked the secretaries, okay, I'm gonna pull a permit for the footings and foundation and my plumbing and things like that. And she says, why don't you check with Nate and see what he wants to do? I checked with Nate and he says, instead of doing that, just pour, and I'll check everything and make a note of it. When we get the permit, he'll sign it off. He says, just don't frame until we figure this out. So we are at the point right now to where Nate is okay with me doing it, okay? And so he's come out, he's measured the distance from the property, he's checked all the rebar, he's done everything. And this is the approval of Nate, okay? Now, as far as the irrigation ditch, that's completely false. It has worked. We have a lawyer now representing us because we weren't sure if, okay, can we go ahead and dig? Because the temporary restraining order that the courts put on us was lifted at mediation, okay? But I did not dig the hole because I wasn't comfortable until we saw that go at least 2 times, and it did. And so it's working just fine. So I was comfortable digging a hole. But instead, I even got a hold of an attorney because we have to have an easement put in, so we had to get an attorney for that anyway. And we said, will you look at all the documents? Are we okay to dig? I don't want to get into any trouble or anything. I have a permit for the house. That's where the ditch ran, okay? The garage does nothing for this ditch, okay? So if we get turned down now, it's for nothing. This is not a hearing on the irrigation ditch. Okay.
Well, we were comfortable with your restraining order that has been lifted.
Yeah,
when we
and
approved it.
so last time when I was here, you guys said, well, can you bring that documentation into us? I brought that in. You have a copy of it, and the lawyers told me to go ahead and dig. You can see that Kurt's lawyer is not here today to represent that and put a stop to it because he agrees with my lawyer that we can go ahead and dig. It has nothing to do with irrigation ditch. And I disagree. He can come up here and say it failed or whatever. It worked twice. That's what we were after during mediation.
And we did receive that documentation,
Right.
that was emailed to us.
Yeah,
So it sounds like maybe this is something that's going on civilly that you guys need to,
very much.
Yeah, our approval
This has
was
nothing to do with,
contingent on that.
this has nothing to do with giving me a permit and things like that. This is all with the court systems. This has, this is just personal. It really is. So, I would be pretty disappointed if you deny this because it has nothing to do with the irrigation ditch. So,
Thank you.
thank you.
Were there any other public comments regarding this request?
Dennis Blanchard, 5362 South, 4700 West. One question. According to the building code section, yes, 10-2B-4, structure requirements, residential area R1, it says that there's a 25-foot maximum height, building height. With this being 30 feet versus 25, please explain, please.
I'll take that one. 10-2B-6, accessory structure requirements in the residential zone. If you look at section F, height consideration, no detached accessory structure located in an R1 or R2 shall have a height of more than 25 feet, measured from the lowest adjacent grade. No detached accessory structure in any zone shall have a height of more than 18 feet, measured from the lowest grade. Accessory structures over these requirements require a conditional use permit and a building permit. So that's what he's here for, is to get a conditional use to go over the 25-foot max that is in the ordinance.
Okay, so this is putting that particular ordinance to null and void that.
Well, it has a section F. They can request that with a conditional use permit
Yeah, a conditional use permit is 2 things. One, the square footage size
and
height.
the height.
So there's 2 separate things. Because remember when you came in for your building,
Right.
we did end up approving it for more than 25 feet. for the
But
series.
initially,
Initially,
it was 25 foot, and I agreed to it, and I stuck to it.
but after looking into it, we found out that we can exceed that. And
By the paragraph F.
correct.
Okay. All righty.
Thank you. Are there any other public comments regarding this request? Okay, seeing none, then I'm going to close public comment, bring it back to our commissioners for any further discussion. Comments?
The only thing that's changed as far as we've been made aware is that the height has increased just a tiny bit, which was the same to begin with, we just didn't know that.
Right.
As far as the civil issue that's going on there, our approval was contingent on that being lifted. They sent documentation showing that it had been lifted, so if there's further things going on, I don't feel like that applies to our approval on this.
What about, Amanda, what about where, in that F, where it says accessory structures over these requirements require a conditional use and a building permit? He doesn't have a building permit.
Well, he'll need one, we can't grant that.
Yeah, exactly.
We can't grant the building permit,
Okay.
so
He'll get the
he'll have
building
to
permit
get it.
afterwards. To build it, he needs the building permit, which he will get.
Any other questions, discussion? Okay, then I would entertain a motion on this request.
I want to make a motion that we approve the conditional use permit for Bryce Clark's oversized structure totaling 4,023 square feet, with a height of 30 feet located at 4790 South, 5500 West.
I'll second.
I just have a question. Do we need to talk about the contingencies we added to the last condition? No?
If we want to include that nothing has changed from our last approval other than this.
It's already
Yeah.
been fulfilled.
Yeah,
Right.
so.
We did get that. Okay, so we have a motion from Commissioner Greener and a second from Commissioner Prince. All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Okay, it's unanimous. There you go.
Thank you.
Measure careful. Measure twice, cut once.
I got a new tape.
Our next item on our agenda this evening is a conditional use permit for Scott Larson for an oversized structure totaling 2,000 square feet. Brian, do you have a presentation for us?
Yes, so this is in our Silver Saddle area. You can see which lot it is in the corner there. And like I said, this is for 2,000 square feet. The height is for 25 feet. And the purpose of this is the shop and some storage for family. And right there you can see it's like 24 feet, 10 inches, and 15 18s. So just under 25 feet. That's all I have.
Okay, all right, thank you. Is there a representative here for Mr. Larson?
I'm Scott Larson. I reside at 5409 West, 3750 South.
Okay.
Any questions you have about my little project?
Are you on sewer or are you on septic? Because it says here that it'll be, plumbing will be installed in the structure.
Yes, I got a permit in September to run utilities out to it. They won't be connected yet. Nate's already approved all of those, and that's in a separate permit. So I've got my electric, power, water, those things are run out there. They won't be used for a while though, until I can get further funds. I'm just trying to get a structure in place.
Okay. So you have plumbing and electricity, and then you apply for those, and you've got the permits for them. Perfect. Any other questions for Mr. Larson? Commissioners?
It's pretty done.
Okay, that's all we need to say.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. So again, this is a public meeting, public hearing. If there's someone here who would like to make comment regarding this request from Mr. Larson, come forward now. Okay, seeing none, then we'll close public comments, bring it back here to our commissioners for any further discussion.
Did we have in our packet where this was gonna be located on his lot, so we make sure that he's within the ordinance of being, you know, not the overhang or?
There should have been a site plan in there, is there?
Yeah,
I've
I
never
don't think
seen-
it was in the packet.
I don't never seen a site plan.
Yeah.
Mr. Larson, would you mind coming forward again so we can ask you a couple of questions? Commissioner Seven is asking about the placement of this building on your lot to make sure that you don't,
For the side setback, the back,
So in the back, I have no utilities across the back property, so I'm 5 foot off the back, which is per
5 foot.
requirement.
okay,
I set it so that it's even with my house as far, so it's not sticking more towards that little dead end road that it's going into. So I've lined it up with that. I'll have like a little, kind of a driveway right there in that space.
so as long as you're 5 feet off of
5 feet off of that,
Property-
yep. The
property
only other
boundaries.
utility that runs down through that line, and it was marked, was a gas line, and it runs through the park strip. And I'm gonna be about 28 feet back from that.
okay.
What is the size of your lot?
Size of my lot is ½ acre.
Does that answer your question, Commissioner Seven?
Mhm.
Okay, all right, thank you. Any other discussion? No?
I'm good.
Okay, then I would entertain a motion regarding this request for a conditional use permit for Mr. Scott Larson.
I'll make a motion that we approve the conditional use permit for an oversized structure for Scott Larson at 5409 West, 3750 South, Hooper.
Do we have a motion to approve? Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Do we have a second from Commissioner Widdowson? All those in favor?
Aye.
That's unanimous. Okay, thank you.
Make sure the 25 feet's from the ground.
It is. Don't come back and ask us for another one. Although it's not cheap to do that because Mr. Clark had to pay all the fees and everything over again. Because he mismeasured by a foot and a half. Over. Okay, where are we at? Our third item on our agenda is a rezone request for Stillwater Construction on the property located at 5714 West, 4200 South. Brian, do you have a presentation for us on that?
Yep, so this is the rezone of the Gardner lot, so it's just a single family lot. And you can see from the map, it's the blue lot. Currently, it is a R1, and everything around it there, highlighted in that orange or yellow, whatever color that projector is making it, that is all R2. So it's completely surrounded by R2. And last meeting that we had the Westview subdivision come in, so you can see where Westview is. It's that red, and it incorporates this lot. And we didn't realize that lot had not been rezoned. So Westview is all a ½ acre lot, or R2, which is ½ acre. There you go. And then this lot is a R1, so 1 acre. So
R75 is,
so what's that?
R75 is it?
It's currently
zoned R1.
one
Oh,
acre.
yes,
Yep. So what we're asking to do is to rezone that to the R.75, and you can see from this little shot that just pulled up, that whole area has been approved for the future to be the R.75. So it's just to change it from the R1 that it is into the R.75, which is.
But you'll be reducing the size of the Garner lot.
Yes. Yes. So from this slide, you can see kind of where that lies. So you can barely see it. I didn't realize with the projector. The Gardner lot is in blue, kind of a blue rectangle at the bottom, and so it encompasses 2 lots. So basically, we take that 0.75 and then it'll be
So on
incorporated in that
that
subdivision.
map, the Garner lot is represented as lot 15
It's 15 and then a section of the 10.
and part of 10. Right, so when we're finished here, or when I get finished to adjust it, it'll be goes to lot 15.
Yes,
And that then will allow the subdivision to have a lot 10.
correct. Yep, and to reduce, so lot 15, right now the gardeners don't use the back half of that lot. It's kind of a, I don't want to say a waste, it's just not used. And so it's a little bit too big for them to manage. They wanted to incorporate it with this subdivision. So as Justin has made this subdivision, they approached him and said, hey, could you use this and incorporate it and create this, use it in the back. And so he's kind of doing them a little bit of favor, making their lot 15 usable for them, turns it down to be a 3/4 acre lot, and also fits well with the rest of the subdivision.
Okay. Is that what all you have for us?
Yes, that's right.
And
Good
you
evening.
are?
Justin Nielsen, Stillwater Construction Group, 2637 West, 1800 South, West Haven. Happy to be here.
And you are going to be developing the West View?
Correct.
Okay. Do you guys have any questions for Mr.? I forgot his name. Nelson.
Oh, the approval was contingent on him doing this, and he's doing it, just like we asked him to, so.
Right, yeah, because when we talked about the subdivision a couple meetings ago, we recognized that lot 15 wasn't going to quite work without making the change, and then we told you that you needed to come in to get a rezone for
I
that,
can
so.
thank Commissioner Grainer for that. Thank you. Appreciate you.
Okay.
So a little bit about it. We're obviously requesting just to be compliant, right? That's really our goal. And with the gardeners, we really appreciate their efforts on their behalf. And so we're going to make sure that they have the lot size corrected. And they're going to get a little bit more of a lot out of it, but it's the least we could do to try to help. So they're happy with that. They're supportive of that. And hopefully everybody else can be as well.
This is Eric
Yes,
Eric.
Garner.
Garner. Eric and Sharon.
Yes, and Sharon, correct. Yeah.
Okay, any other questions for Mr. Newsom? Okay, thank you, appreciate you coming in. Is there anyone here in the audience that would like to make a comment regarding this request for a zoning map change? Okay, seeing none, then we'll close public comment. Bring it back here. Commissioners, any additional discussion or comment? Okay. Seeing none, then I would entertain a motion on this request.
I'll motion that we recommend approval of the rezone request for Stillwater Construction located at 5714 West, 4200 South, from R1 to R.75.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, and that's unanimous.
Thanks, Commissioner.
Thank you. Next item on our agenda this evening is a preliminary review of the Perez subdivision. Brian, did you have a presentation and comments for us on this?
Yes, I do. So this is a minor subdivision, so there's just, it just hits you guys once and then goes to city council once. So just keep that in mind. So you can kind of see where this property is. And what it is to do is, Ephraim just wants to take the one lot. Right now there's a kind of a steel building that's used just kind of for commercial, maybe not commercial, just parking stuff there. And so now he wants to remove that, make it a lot, and then put a house where that is in that front part.
There's a building there now?
Correct. Yeah.
Yeah, it's got a few tractors and
Just like
maybe a
this
dump truck
pole
sitting
barn
there.
or
Yeah,
something.
pole barn type stuff.
So this is for final plat review, one lot subdivision. It's for just one buildable lot in the R1 zone. So pretty minimal there. We've worked through the issues, everything has been adequately addressed as far as standards, dimensions, and design. One thing that you'll notice on there is we didn't have where the slough was shown on the map, but that's kind of on the remainder parcel, so it doesn't really affect the one residential parcel in the beginning, but we can get that for the final, so that's a minor comment there. One thing that we do need to address is there was non-approved fill material that was trucked in there. So Hogan Construction is building a elementary school.
They're building Sunset Junior High, and they
Excuse me, sir, could you give us your name and address?
Efraim Perez, current residence 3639 West, 4000 South, West Haven.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, Hogan Construction is building Sunset Junior High, and they took fill material from there and placed it on our property in the meantime until the other junior high the current junior high gets knocked down, and they're going to take that fill back so they can fill in that hole. They asked, and then we told them if you can get city approval and stuff, then you can put it there and then take it out. I'm not getting anything out of it. I just thought I was just helping the district out. I didn't know it was going to be such a big deal. He said that he got permission from the city to do that, and that they will be taking it out not this upcoming summer, but the following after that, once the Sunset Junior High construction is done and the demolition of the old one gets taken down.
So you're saying that Hogan Construction told you that they had permission from Hooper City to stockpile soil on your ground?
Yeah.
Do we know about that?
We don't have any agreement with Hogan Construction.
Yeah.
Our understanding is that Hooper City does not have an agreement with Hogan Construction.
Yeah, he just said he just talked to, I'm not sure who it was, I talked to him on the phone, but I'm not sure there was nothing in writing or nothing, so.
Somebody's not telling you the truth.
Yeah, so then, I had, the city they had Hogan Construction stop putting in the dirt, and so they did, and then that was, the end of that part of it, and then they had Weaver County come out and say that we weren't in compliance, and they sent like a ordinance code, but they didn't send the full thing. They only sent partial code of it. So then I had a lawyer look into it, and he found out that they didn't include the full code. So then he went back and sent that to the Weaver County code enforcer, and then I believe he said he talked to the city attorney about it.
Which attorney talked to which attorney? Have you got names?
Yeah, there's no agreement between Hooper City about that material being on the property. I had a few calls from some lawyers a few months ago. There's no agreement.
Yeah, no, I mean, that's what they had said, but I mean, I can, if it's gotta be pulled out, I can pull out. I mean, I was just, like I said, I thought I was just helping them out, 'cause like I said, I'm not getting anything out of it, so if they wanna take it completely out, they can take it out. It doesn't mean no good. Like, it's just not doing anything for me there, so either way, but I thought that this meeting was just for the preliminary of the subdivision part of it, not with that field dirt.
Well, there's issues on the land, and before we want that land to be subdivided, we want it to be compliant with residential zoning. And you're asking to subdivide your property, and so we want it to be compliant.
But on other bigger parcels like this haven't we had them put on there not suitable for future development? And that covers just the building lot, right?
Yeah, if you look, maybe you can see. Yeah, it does say right here, not approved for development right there, on the remainder parcel of 15 acres.
Okay.
But it's currently all one parcel, and that dirt is on that parcel, right?
Whereas, there was a note up on the screen that said that it was encroaching on the slough.
Is he using any of this dirt as structural fill?
No,
Or is it just piles?
Just
it's just piles back quarter mile from where he wants to put, it's way back there, I drove down there tonight. It's right on the slough, it's not even close to where he wants to put his house.
What other issues did you have, Brian, city staff? Did they have any other issues on this?
just, this isn't an issue, but land use separation fence wasn't called out. We either need to put a land use separation fence or get a letter from you saying that you don't want to have one in there. So that was,
Like fence like would separate my lot from the rest of it. And I guess, well, my dad's the owner of the rest of the property, so if we had, that we didn't want a fence and that would be between.
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, just get him to sign an agreement saying, I don't want the
The
fence.
fence, okay,
Otherwise, one's required, so I can get you that document.
okay,
It's pretty
If you
simple.
don't want the fence. But
okay, yeah, no, I think we do it, yeah, that's a fence.
So then, just as we were talking in staff, so the standards, dimensions, engineering, the design, that all checks out. But then the one thing that we weren't sure about was about the ordinance, where, so I was thinking we could move forward approving the subdivision, but then not do the complete or the final approval with city council until the ordinance has been taken care of. Yesterday when we were talking in staff meeting, we brought up, if this gets approved for preliminary, he has 1 year to get the final approval before final is, otherwise it gets nullified. And when did you say that the dirt is going to come off? Is that?
Not this upcoming summer, but the following summer is when they said, but if it needs to come out sooner, I'll talk to Global Construction and they can figure it out, as it's all there. So if I need to get it out of there sooner, I can let them know to get it out of there sooner and they can do whatever they want with it. Like, it's not my problem. It'll be on them to just pull it all out.
Yeah, so that was kind of our concern, is if we give him the approval now, but he can't get in compliance with the remainder parcel until the dirt's gone, and they're gonna leave it there for 2 years, then what becomes of this preliminary approval?
Well, he can come back in and get a extension, can he? I mean, we granted one to H.L. Parker for,
That was a developmental agreement.
Yeah, that was after
so it wasn't the,
development agreement. Yeah. So I don't think there's an extension for between preliminary and final, but there is, if he gets final, then there could be extensions, but between the two of them, we just have 1 year time frame.
So we could issue a preliminary approval
yeah.
and then he has a year before the final has to be done?
Before, yeah, and if you don't get final, then you're back to square one.
So we get final approval from city council?
Correct.
What happens if the laws change slightly in February?
Yeah,
How does that affect?
Yeah, so in February, there'll be that new format. That's a good question. That's an actual interesting question. You come in under the laws here and proceed. You may be stuck under the current laws. However, it would change somebody from then reapplying, pulling an application out after those laws change in February, coming in with a new preliminary application, and that's a different time. Of course, then the city would be able to do what it wanted on that application. So all we can do right now Or you could table it.
I got a question for Perez. That dirt that's dumped there, how close to the slough is it? Is it right next to the?
No, they were told to keep it a distance. I can't remember the exact number, but they wanted to know I'm not right up next
I
to
mean,
it. No.
because if he's not even within 100 feet of the slough, then it's a non-issue. That's no different than me going out and dumping dirt on my property, is it?
Well, I can see
I don't
how
know.
close it is to the slough here, I can Google Maps, it can be pretty bad.
Yeah.
I'm just wondering if he's 100 feet or more away from the slough itself.
Yeah, I believe some of the dirt is in the 100 no build zone, so I think they,
Well, there's a question. If it is within 100 feet, could you have Hogan move it
Yeah,
so that you're within compliance?
yeah. If I need to, I'll move it myself. I mean, I'll get shovel, buckets, whatever I need out there. I mean, it's not.
I mean, because I think our ordinance states 100 feet.
Yeah.
If it's not within 100 feet, I would consider it a non-issue.
Is it just that we're concerned about being within 100 feet of the slough, or are there other issues that have been brought up as far as the dust and everything from having all of that dirt brought in? Is it okay for him to have brought that in on the lot as long as it's not within 100 feet of the slough?
I'm not sure about that. I think that's what the complaint, the ordinance complaint was that it was a business venture where they're bringing in the dirt, but I don't really know.
Yeah, that's what the complaint was, I guess, from surrounding neighbors that I was doing business out of it, but I wasn't intention on it. Like I said, if they leave it there, they take it, it's all the same to me. It's not doing me any good. It's taking up room at this point, so, but the dust, like, they pulled their SWIP permit and they had a sweeper and stuff going out there and cleaning, but there was still kicking up dust, so then that's when everything shut down and then they stopped. So there wouldn't be any more dust.
No, there's no more soil or dirt being brought into that site.
No.
Okay.
I think what the other thing, I'm trying to remember because it's been a minute, but I think it was also related to the use. So like stockpiling material in a residential zone. I think that was an issue with
Yeah, that's not
it
compliant.
was an issue with the use in a residential zone. I mean, the business thing was an issue, and then it was also just the mere fact of stockpiling material. Was that an allowed use or was that not? If I'm remembering right, it was tied up into that also.
So it's obvious that stockpiling dirt or soil or whatever in a residential zone is not a permitted use, but it ceased. You just have a pile of dirt there now. And
Right, and so then it becomes a little different question too, because you're talking about subdividing off use that right doesn't.
right, yeah, the dirt's up in
Doesn't
that
mean
top
that
corner.
doesn't mean that the rest of it is now all of a sudden in compliance because you do. I don't want to misconstrue it. Like if you approve a subdivision on a preliminary, that doesn't all of a sudden give them, some kind of waiver of the fact that he may not be in compliance on that other piece. That's still an issue.
Right.
That's still an issue. So.
But is that an issue for this request this evening for
Right, and it may not be, and that would be.
or an application for a subdivision?
Right, and that's the differentiation that you have to make as you look at it, whether that's an issue for this particular request, although it does remain a real issue that needs to be dealt with. Is that an issue for this request? And you are at preliminary, so again, you could do an approval with conditions. There's options that you have.
So, it's not preliminary though, right? Because this is a minor subdivision, so isn't this just we're recommending for final approval?
Correct.
Because it's only one lot,
Yeah,
right?
that's my concern, is when we get one shot
Yeah.
at this.
See, and
And
I-
I'm not sure it's listed on the agenda as a preliminary.
Yeah, being a single family, having one.
It's a final,
Yeah,
because it's minor.
essentially a final.
minor subdivision.
So the decision we make tonight is fine.
Yeah.
In that case, if we're going to treat it as a final, it's a recommendation either way.
Council.
Right.
other questions for Mr. Perez? You've made arrangements with Hogan Construction to no longer bring any more soil in, and that will, but it will stay there until they want to haul it out in the summer of 2025?
Yeah, unless you guys don't want them to, if you want me to tell them, yeah, you can't haul it out, because, I mean, I can't have truck traffic, I can tell them, don't haul it out, I mean, whatever, if you guys want it to stay there, so it doesn't move out of it, I can leave it there. If you guys want me to have them haul it off, I'll have them haul it off, or whatever you guys want me to do with it, I can have them either way.
Well, the stockpiling is unsightly, and it is in non-compliance with the city ordinance for a residential area to be stockpiling building materials and that kind of thing.
How quickly could they move it out?
I'm not sure, but a couple of weeks.
It's a dead end lot, there's nothing there but the encroachment of train field. I think it's train field.
Yeah, the golf course it has back behind it.
That's the end of the road.
Yeah, there's nothing out there.
I think if the question is, you know, does the city want the material out there? No, the city doesn't want the material out there. I think the better question is that part of what you're doing when you're considering the subdivision preliminary or I guess final approval. You know what I mean?
I think we're dealing with two different things.
They have two different questions. I think
I think
definitely
it
I
is.
can say for sure the city does not want the material staying out there.
Right.
But that's not necessarily
That's not us.
what you're doing with it.
We're doing a subdivision, one lot subdivision.
I think it's hard because that's the current lot that we're dealing with right now. And right now, it's not in compliance. And so, I appreciate you being so willing to do whatever is necessary to bring it into compliance. My thoughts would be, let's take care of it, let's not pass it on to the city council or somebody else to enforce it. I lean more towards either tabling it or denying it until that gets resolved.
If they can have
But-
it out a couple of weeks.
Yeah, I mean, if you can contact them and see if they can get it out of there sooner, I would rather just send it forward clean, and then you won't have any issues down the road, hopefully, about it, and so,
Because one option is you can table it to the next meeting, you
Yeah.
can look into that option, and come back and then you can make a decision for sure.
it's a little harder when it's final. If it was preliminary, I feel it would be a little bit different, but,
I would like to hear your comments.
yeah.
All right, thank you, Mr. Perez. This is a public meeting, and we'll open it up to any public comments regarding this request for a subdivision for the Perez subdivision. No public comment?
Well, you guys are no help.
All right, seeing nothing, we'll close public comment. Bring it back here, commissioners. Let's have a discussion.
I like the idea of tabling it and seeing if we can get cleaned up in the next month.
We're just doing the one lot subdivision. I don't have a problem with his other 14 acres that he's got. As long as that dirt's not within 100 feet of the slough, I think it's a non-issue.
But is it a non-issue, because I thought.
But doesn't that basically landlock the rest of that ground?
It's already landlocked.
No.
There's a little,
But wouldn't that make like a flag lot out of the rest of it?
They said that if I had like a 66-foot between right there, that I wouldn't landlock it because you could eventually get a road into it. If I saw
And you have that between you and Drew, right?
Yeah.
yeah, it's 66 feet. I can't see it very well. Yeah, it's right there if you can look real close. It's 66, so a road could be made in there.
If it's not within 100 feet, I don't think it's an issue because we've peeled off one lot subdivisions off 20-acre pieces that either gets farmed or gets flooded or gets cattle on it. What's the difference between that and somebody having dirt on their land? You know what I mean?
Well, I
To
guess
me.
it comes down to if they're in compliance or not in compliance with storing building materials or things like that on their property. To me, that's what matters here.
I feel like,
What is the incentive to get it cleaned up if
yeah, if he goes ahead with this tonight, what's the incentive? Like, Sheldon says to,
Well, it involves the current lot, as it
bring
is, that's
down-
what we're looking at, right?
so we want this current lot to be in compliance with residential ordinances. And residential ordinance doesn't allow for stockpiling of building materials and dirt.
But we're only talking the 1 acre, 1 lot subdivision, not the whole 15 acres. So the issue is this 1 lot subdivision versus the rest of the property. Right?
No, the issue is the 15 acres or 16, whatever it is currently, that he wants to pull it off. The issue is still the whole thing started.
I think if he's willing to talk to the company and see if they can come out and get it, I would lean towards tabling it, just give him the opportunity to do it. If they can come out within a month or something, if we table it to the next meeting and they can get that moved. That way we're just not, I just feel better about having a clean recommendation to move forward.
Yeah, I can have them come out and get it all taken out. It's just gonna be trucks going through the street, which is what the neighbor complaints were to the city was because of the amount of trucks.
Right, but if they come to the city now and complain that there's trucks going in, it's because they wanted the dirt gone, so
Okay.
it's gonna get gone.
Okay, yeah, agree that.
Okay.
Would that be, I mean, does that sound reasonable to you if we tabled it so that you have an opportunity to?
Call them and have them remove it. Yeah,
So you would come back next month and we'd be like, just do this again next month, we do 1 month to get it figured out?
The only thing I guess would be with weather-wise, like for track out type purposes, would that be an issue? Like I know they're gonna be having to get their swift and everything to get, so they're not tracking out into the street, but with it getting worse weather, with that, I can talk to them, I'm not sure what the whole deal, but I mean, I drive trucks, but you can't always work in mud.
Right, well, and I think you could always call the city and say, this is the situation that's going on, can I postpone that and have it be put on the following month's meeting or something like that? Because I don't think you're gonna be starting construction, when do you plan on?
I've been trying to do this for like the last 2 years, but it's been one thing after another that's kind of been setting me back. I'm just trying to move. So, I mean, like I said, whatever I need to do to get it done, I'm okay with doing that, so.
Okay. All right. Commissioner? I would entertain a motion on this request.
I make a motion that we table the Perez subdivision located at 5998 South, 5100 West for 1 month till our December meeting. So you give him a chance to get that dirt moved out there, get his lot back into compliance.
I'll second.
So we have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Nay.
We have 3 yea and 1 nay. The motion still passes. Thank you. Brooks Estate was suspended,
Yes.
removed.
Yeah, I just put this on here just for if somebody came in late,
Oh,
they could see that, it's getting, so the development is pending on the installation of a sewer lift station, a regional pump station is in the works, but it has been delayed, and so the subdivision wasn't quite ready to move forward. So most likely, it'll be on next month's meeting, but just so anyone is here for Brooks Estate.
Yeah.
Because before, when we tabled something, someone came in late, and they were mad that they stayed for the whole meeting, so just want to make sure everyone saw that.
okay, thanks, Brian. We announced it twice, so those that came late, sorry. Okay. The last item on our agenda this evening is a conditional use permit for Hooper Water Improvement District for a water well located at 4769 West, 5100 South. And let's hear what our city engineer has to tell us.
Okay, so you can see the parcel in blue, that's where this, the Hooper Water Improvement District owns that property, and they're looking at drilling a well there. And they drilled a test well, and so now they're looking at developing that well and making drinking water available. Looking at what we have for our allowed uses, this is in the residential zone, and you can see that it is R1, and it is acceptable to have a community water system there, but it does require a conditional use permit, so that's what they are looking for. And technically, they could drill the well now and then come and ask for the permit. But just the time frames, they thought that it'd be best to get the conditional use permit first before drilling the well and moving forward and putting all the expense into that. The reason why is because after you drill the well, I mean, it's going to take a while to drill that well and test it and develop it. And then after, if you ask for the conditional use permit, I mean, you only have 1 year, so we already know they're looking at that, trying to get the conditional use permit now, and then we know that they're going to file an extension. So I don't know if that's something that we can out the gate give them 2 years instead of the traditional 1 year, or if it just has to go and get the extension. But just be aware that that's there. And this is the site, so it's kind of zoomed in there. This is the back half of the site, and you can see that there's a house that's on the northern portion of the site, and this is the southern portion, and you can see where the 1 million gallon tank will be, where the well will be, and also a little pond. Every time the well kicks on, then it has to discharge the waste, and so you need that pond to discharge the water, because you don't want nasty stuff getting put into your culinary water system. So that's all I have.
Has a test well been done there yet?
Yes.
Do you know, I can't read this small print, so I'm going to ask you, how tall is that tank?
The memo said 20 feet.
I think it's 20 feet. Yeah, Dan? Yeah.
20 feet tall?
Dan White with Gardner Engineering. We represent the water district, and yeah, that tank will be less than 20 feet tall.
From the ground, from
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 the ground. We'll burn up around it, but around the existing grade, it will be less than.
from the existing grade, it won't exceed 20 feet? Okay. And it'll be all landscaped or?
Correct. Yeah, we'll landscape as we need to, the entire site, but we'll probably berm up around that tank to where there's less than 10 feet probably, well, depending on what setbacks we've got. But we'll leave the top of it exposed, but we will berm up to where there will be limited concrete exposed.
How deep into the ground can you put it?
We would put it probably the floor of the tank would probably be no deeper than the existing grade.
Can't go down at all?
That's something that our geotechnical will determine when we get into further design. But my experience has been just at grade, and you kind of stay there with your floor slab.
Here in Hooper, we don't want to go too deep.
Yeah, with the groundwater, I expect that we probably wouldn't want to go too deep.
So in the paper that you provided, you had mentioned that if you needed a filtration system, that it would be 20 feet, about that. But if you didn't need that, it would probably be lower.
No, if we need a filtration system to go with the pump, what that would do would affect the size of the building
Okay.
and whether or not we have that smaller tank on the site. If we don't need a filtration component to this, that well pump filter building can shrink in size and we will no longer need the smaller tank.
Okay, so the main one would still be around 20
Yeah.
feet or a little bit under that. Okay.
Can you speak to the need for this type of a thing? Like where would it service? Does it service Hooper City itself? Or
Yes,
just kind of that kind of.
The water district is all one pressure zone, so everybody everybody that's served by the district gets the district sources of water. So this would serve everybody within the district. And the district covers more than just Hooper City, but yes.
Is there a representative from the water district here?
Yes, we've got our manager and the board chairman of the board.
I would imagine they'd be better to speak to
Oh,
that,
that's good.
speak of the need and service.
Yeah, I have several questions, but I don't know whether to direct them to you or to.
Well, Scott, if you didn't want to come up.
Can people talk louder? I mean, we just barely can hear what's going on.
Speak into your microphone.
Please?
Yeah.
As well as you guys, we're having a hard time hearing you at times.
Yeah, just get really close to the microphone, okay? Give us your name, please.
Scott Christiansen,
Okay,
Hooper Water Improvement District.
okay. And you're the chairman? Are you the chairman or
I'm the manager.
the manager? Okay.
Same question the city attorney asked him. Can you speak to the need of this and the servicing of it and that?
Okay, so the need of it is that we are growing as a district, and so we need to be able to supply water in the future for everybody that's here, plus those that are coming. And so this is basically for growth in the district.
So when you came back in, initially it was January 2020.
Right.
And at the time, you had stated that you had 3 wells currently. I believe one of them is over on 1800, one on 4000, and then the other one is up behind Kent's in Roy.
Right.
And that you were mainly using one of those wells at the time, and it was pumping around 2,100 gallons a minute. And I don't know if that's still the case, but when we talked to you about why the other wells were not being used as much, it was the quality of the water, the minerals and things that were in there you were trying to work on getting at. So it was more, it was safe, but it wasn't as appealing to drink. That was my understanding.
So now we're using 2 wells. We're using the one on 4000 South. We have a filtration plant that we've built on that site to help control the minerals, the iron and manganese, and so we've been using that in conjunction with the well by Kent's.
So I guess one of my questions would be where you have these 3 wells. Would there be a possibility of using the funds that you would be putting in this new well in order to bring those ones up quality-wise so that those could be utilized more and maybe get us a little bit further out? I know when we met before it was around, you said maybe around 20 years, but now we're a lot sooner now.
And the 2 wells that we're using, they're to their max. The well over in West Point, that one has some issues that I mean, it's right where the West Davis corridor is coming through and other issues, and we're going to need these other wells. I mean, we've drilled 2 test wells. We drilled the test well here, and then we drilled the test well over just above our shop over there. And we look at within the next 10 years, we're going to have to develop both those wells for just in conjunction with the ones that we already have. So,
What was the result of those test wells, particularly this one, in comparison to quality of water compared to what we're getting currently?
okay, so both wells have some minerals in it. That iron and manganese are in both wells, but the well on where we're looking at doing this work is the better quality of the 2 that we tested, and it's recommended by the engineer, LRE Engineering. They're the ones that did the test well for us. It was recommended by them that be the well that we pursue first and get it up and running because it has the better quality water.
So I got another question for you. So my understanding is basically you could have the well there and just backfeed the line and put a tank pretty much anywhere else, right?
It's feasible, yes, to do that.
So you could put a tank over near your shop. And have the well here, right?
We have anticipation of putting a tank on both sides.
So the purpose for the larger tank on the site is to give some local storage so that as we pump it up, and whether we filter it or not, we will be adding some chlorine. And what happens is we'll pump up out of the ground, chlorinate that water, dump it into the tank, and allow that chlorine time to contact the water so that it has the log disinfection rate that we need to before we ship it out to people to consume.
But you could do that with a tank at a different location as well, correct?
We could. The issue with that is the pipeline to get it to that tank that would have to be constructed and be dedicated solely for that purpose.
They can't run in the current, what is it, 18-inch pipe that's right there?
No, because people are they're consuming water out of that line. So as soon as we put water into that line, it's got to be ready for consumption.
So it has to have the chlorine contact time.
Yeah, so the chlorine contact time is something that we do to, it's just an added protective measure on the quality of the water, the health quality of the water.
So you could do a smaller tank with that contact time and then have a larger tank somewhere else?
Yes. Yes, it depends on the numbers. I mean, we'd have to run the math and see how much water is moving which way. But yes, it could happen that way.
So on any given day, how much chlorine is stored would be stored at that facility?
There is the chlorination system that the district uses it's called an on-site generation system. So what we do is we store salt on site, and then we add electricity and we make chlorine. We only store, I think, 1,500 gallons is as much as we have. We store a lot more salt than that, rock salt, like your water softener would use, but we combine them to make the chlorine.
And the chlorine is at a low dose.
Just for reference, Clorox that you use in your washing machine is what they call 5.25%. This chlorine that we add to the well water is 0.8%. So it's quite dilute compared to what you're accustomed to.
I'm sorry if you already addressed this, I know you said that this would cover kind of your service area, but do we have an idea of how many homes this one particular well will service?
I haven't put numbers to that, and I don't have them right off the top of my head, but yes, this is to serve future growth, but it is also to provide redundancy, where we've only got two active sources now. The district is always looking for ways to, because we had one well go down, we had the well behind Kent's, that was out one summer, and then, which happened to be the summer when we were putting the filter plant in on the 4000 South, and we were without a source, and we had to buy from Weaver Basin for that several months.
So like 2015?
It was 2018, 2019, somewhere in there, but we want to be able to avoid that and be more autonomous to where we're not reliant upon the more expensive and frankly the less tasty water.
So the well that's over on in West Point, the one that's not being tapped into, or is that just going to be abandoned then? I mean, you mentioned that it's in the West Ares corridor alignment, so it'll probably be put into non-use.
What we've talked about with master planning on that is we did look initially at, okay, what if we can improve that West Point well and put a filter plant on that to make it more palatable water, and let's use the resources that we've already got, the hole in the ground that we've already got. The issue was that well was constructed during construction, they had a larger hole and then they had to constrict it to a smaller hole. We can only get a 4-inch pump in that well. 6-inch, I'm sorry. And based on what pressures we need to provide, we can pull a relatively very limited amount out of that well for what it would cost to filter that water.
So it's just not cost effective to have that West
It
Point
just
well?
was not cost effective, and to be honest, the amount of water that would be pulled out of that was a gamble. It was somewhere between 400 and 800 gallons a minute, which sounds like a lot, but when we're talking about these other sources, we're talking, like you mentioned, above 2,000 gallons a minute, and it just makes more sense to get a new hole in the ground.
So would that West Point well then just be abandoned? Is that your long-term
It would probably,
cost? I mean, it's not.
stop me if I'm wrong, I believe the district would still keep it as an asset, and it would be a backup, because the water is safe to drink, it's just not as palatable. And so we would use it as a very last resort.
So, maybe I misunderstood this, but is it just because the technology has changed that now you can say if you do this well on 5100, you're not going to have the same problem that you have with the one in West Point? Or, because initially you thought that was probably a good site to go with that, but now you're finding there's issues. So I'm just curious how that came about.
Right. So I'll let Scott speak to this, because he was around during that. What I understood was that it was drilled correct for the times. It was a great well, and then during construction something happened and they had to go even smaller, which just restricted it even more. And so what we're doing is getting a new product where we know what's down the hole and we know what we can pull out, and we know what we are going. I mean, we have a good idea of what we will have to filter if we filter. We hope not to have to, but we're coming into knowns with this new additional source.
So the West Point well basically is minimal use and a lot of unknowns as to its quality, whereas with this new one here, you're pretty sure what we're going to get and the quality that we'll have out of it.
Correct, and we will be able to, the size of it will be one, I think we're putting in 18-inch casing in, so it will be one size all the way down, so we can adjust the flows a little bit better, and it'll be more suitable for the needs of the people.
So, sorry, I have a few questions. So, when you guys came in last time, we talked about the water board had voted on this particular location, and the vote was 3-2, so it's kind of split. As far as pursuing this well now, did you guys have another vote? Are you more unified on your decision, or is there still some discrepancies?
The board has voted unanimously to develop both wells, this well and then the other well we're looking at developing in 5 to 6 years from now. So both wells, but this one was voted on unanimously by the board to start.
Okay. And so, last time I mentioned when you came in, you said it would probably be about 20 years down the road. And we're a lot sooner now. So, can you speak a little bit about why that is? I'm assuming I know the answer, but.
Basically, growth is what's driving most of it. So.
And things never get cheaper.
That's true. How far north do you go as far as your service? Into West Haven and West Weaver? Or?
So we go over into West Haven, basically over just this side of Dallas Greens. In spots. We jog back and forth with Taylor West Weaver, so sometimes we're over there and they're over here, but the boundaries go, but basically we're just drive around Dallas Greens and just back behind there.
One of the concerns that was brought up before had to do with contamination from irrigation water and things that were being used on properties around there. And if I understand correctly, you kind of educated us that there's a clay layer that has to be about 10 feet, and that separates the water that comes up from the water that we're actually drinking, so that would kind of protect from any of the surface level irrigation water infiltrating into the actual drinking water. Am I understanding that correctly?
Correct. Yes, so the regulation is that we're in what's called, this well will be what's called in a protected aquifer, and to meet that requirement, there must be at least 30 feet of clay, and the test wells proved out that we exceed that 30 feet of clay, and we're going to be drawing from depths below 350 feet, so we're not concerned about the irrigation waters.
The test well that you drilled was 350 feet deep? Did you go that far?
The test well actually went to about 1,200 feet. What I'm saying, the design on this future well is such that we would draw water from the aquifer no shallower than 350 feet.
But you could go much deeper.
Yeah, the well itself will go down to about 1,150 feet, and we'll have screen sections along the way down there that are the most water-producing sections.
Do you know if there are other private wells that pull from that same aquifer that you guys will be using?
Yes, I believe there are. Actually, yes, I'm sure there are. There are certainly water rights, and I believe there are active wells that tap into that. We haven't, done a survey of which wells are active, but Division of Water Rights, there are quite a number of smaller wells that are drawing from that aquifer.
Can you talk a little bit about how that's going to impact those private wells? I know we brought this up last time, but it's been like a few years, so you could go into detail on that so we can understand more.
We don't know the exact quantification, but yes, it will affect the other wells. There's a cone of depression, so the well is here and it starts sucking water, and it's just like if you're sucking strawberry shake through a straw. You suck hard enough and it draws water. It draws down in towards that straw. That's what's going to happen in the water level. So yes, the water level will drop and it will affect others. I don't know how to quantify that.
And that would happen anywhere you put this well. So, and my understanding is that, so the state issues permits and they say, okay, there's enough water there, but that doesn't necessarily guarantee that it's going to be an artesian well where it has free flowing water. And so the water would still be there for them, but they would have to maybe dig down and pump it out or something. Am I understanding that right? Okay.
What is the risk of somebody else's well contaminating the water supply?
I'm sorry, restate.
What is the risk of somebody else's well in the area contaminating the water supply? Like what is the filtration and systems you guys have? Like, do you constantly test to make sure that there's no chloroforms in the water? Or...
Scott's the tester.
Yes, we have to test our sources every year, and then we test throughout the system every month. We have a certain amount of water quality tests that we have to take to make sure that the water is safe to drink.
This is my last question, I think, but what are your plans on making this more aesthetically pleasing to the people that are going to look at it?
We'll do what's required by the ordinance, and you can only screen so much, but yes, it will be a rather large facility, but we'll do what screening we can and what's required and what we need to make it as good a neighbor as we can.
I saw that came up last time, so I thought.
Yeah, it's not our intention to have an eyesore, and if you've looked around at our other well sites, we really attempt to keep them looking nice and have them looking good. So
maybe I missed this, sorry. What is the height of the well pump filter house?
That would be, it would relatively mimic, it would come very close to mimicking what we've got up on 4,000 South up here just below the railroad tracks. And I believe that one has a 23-foot peak on the roof. Whatever 512 on top of a 12-foot wall does. 25 feet wide.
Commissioners, do you have other questions for our water people?
Thank you.
Get them all answered, Amanda?
I think so.
You can stay up here.
You good, Blake?
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you, appreciate all the input. Okay, here we go, it's a public hearing. Come on forward, let's hear what you have to say. And your comments are limited to 3 minutes.
Hello, I'm Bruce Taylor. I live at 4745 West, 5100 South in Hooper. I've been here for 51 years. In 2019, just as Amanda said, Hooper Water Improvement District bought an existing home next to me with 3 acres. They wanted nothing to do with the house. All they wanted was the right of way to get to the 2nd and 3rd acres behind it for a water tank and all their buildings. They presented to this planning committee, as Amanda said, on January 9th, 2020, this same presentation for conditional use permit, but it was rightly denied for all the obvious reasons. They should have sold the home with the 3 acres and purchased property that is not directly behind 12 homes in my neighborhood. The Water District has purchased 8 acres by the Sinclair Station and drilled their test there. That's where the facility should be put, along 5500, which has now been designated as the commercial area. With their proposal, I could stand in my backyard, throw a rock, and hit this cement tank. This is zoned R1, 1 acre lots minimum, residential with no businesses, just like it should be. Why would we allow this business to do this when all other businesses would be told no? The Hooper Mayor, City Council, and the Planning Committee just completed a new 5-year plan. There is no mention in that plan of a giant water tank, buildings, and of facilities in the plan. Hopefully this isn't how quick and easy a business can do exactly what they want in our city. None of the Hooper Water Board members live anywhere near our neighborhood, or they would never have purchased this property if they had to live by it. Reading off of their presentation, it says, it is anticipated that this project will span several years, starting with construction in early 24 and ending in 26. That's 3 years of building this place. We all just went through 6 months this past winter of them drilling their test well. Our septic tanks were flooded, and we have homes with cracks on the ceiling and the walls from all the banging and drilling of the test well last fall. Also, it states in their presentation, a sanitary sewer connection will be provided. It's anticipated that material will be pumped into the sewer. A sanitary sewer station? There are no homes on 4700 West or 5100 South that have a sewer. There is no sewer. We are all on septic tanks. Where are they going to pump what comes out of their bathrooms at this site? Besides noise and pumps and motors, there will be a generator for the building. So much for the quiet country life. There will be 2 retention ponds built, one on the south and one on the north. Just bring all the mosquitoes to my house. The last statement on their presentation says, appropriate modifications to the plans will be made. So once this is approved, they can do anything they want. I'm asking this committee to do the right thing and deny again this conditional use permit to the Water District, who thinks they can do anything they want in this city. Scott Christensen told us 4 years ago that he don't have to listen to the mayor, he don't have to listen to the city council, and he don't have to listen to you people. He can do anything he wants in this city because it has nothing to do, and he is the boss, and that's how it appears it's going forward. Hooper people should not be doing this kind of stuff to Hooper people. There's plenty of space in Hooper.
Thank you, Bruce.
Let him finish.
A water tank should be put in an open field like at the Sinclair. Then people, as they build homes, They choose to live by these water tanks, but to cram it in our backyard amongst 12 homes, all within 1 acre, is just wrong. Thank you. Can I, may I show on the map where this is? Can you pull up just the map so I can show where I'm talking about? So Brian, where's the tank at?
Right where his cursor is.
One lot to the right.
That lot,
Is it this one?
yes,
So this is the home they bought?
yes.
Okay, so that tank's gonna sit right here. So there's the greenhouse that's being rented, that has been a monstrous problem. Here's where the tank's gonna be, and then the buildings are all gonna be down here. And here's this water tank, and here's my house, right here. Right here is the water tank. And this affects 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 homes. This home was flooded out, and this man just put his house up for sale because they committed to putting a well here. They just put his house up for sale because he would be directly behind the water tank. It's just horrible what these people have picked this neighborhood to do. If we lived in Roy, you know, there's no space. But in Hooper, there's hundreds of acres for sale. I thank you very much.
Thank you, Bruce.
Also a house. So I'm Tracy Wallace. I'm at 4718 West, 5100 South, and directly across.
Can you speak into the microphone, please?
I guess I'm shorter now.
I know. Thank you.
Anyways, so when they were drilling it, I can't even tell you, and we got no compensation for that. That light that they put on top, and I work shift work, yeah, I have blinds and blackout curtains still coming through. It was horrible, months on end of that, and the noise, and okay, so you guys all know Hooper, right? You don't put basements up there. I am on grade, and I have cracks. It was bad. I have cracks on the side, and I took pictures of the cracks. Not that anybody cares about it, but
Are you saying that in the process of them drilling the test site, that it caused your walls to crack?
because of all of the heavy equipment, and I called the city, and I made a complaint about that. I said, this is not the kind of equipment, and I worked construction for many years. This is not the kind of equipment you can bring into a residential area. They were using large equipment that you use on highways, not in residential area. I took pictures, I took videos, and I called the city. The equipment was too heavy when they were trying to hurry and get that road in and get that equipment in. And it just rattled everybody's house, is what it did. I can't even imagine going through that again. And I feel the same way. I think how arrogant that they bought this house years ago, thinking, well, we'll build it, when we're ready. Like they're just gonna get handed the stuff anyway, so they can go ahead and just keep putting in the money, because someone's just gonna keep passing along, like the people that live there and the voters don't count, just the dollars. That's the most irritating thing of all. I can't imagine why anybody would allow something like that in a subdivision. And a lot of people live in subdivisions, and I can tell you, they would not want to have someone come in, buy a house next to them, and then put up a great big water tank. With the pollution, the noise, the traffic, and the atrocity, it's just ugly. And I know where the other one is. It's right up by the railroad tracks, also next to a subdivision. And the UTA tracks. Thank you.
Thank you.
Karen Peterson, 4651 West, 5100 South, Hooper. I just wanted to say this tank, it's 100 feet in diameter and 20 feet tall. The 100-foot tank almost fills the whole, you can see it fills almost the whole width of the lot. And on top of that, they're gonna build the well house, which is huge, and a smaller tank, and the parking lot to park their trucks in when they go in and out. Nobody's mentioned it's gonna have an 8-foot tall fence with 3 strands of barbed wire around it. And then the mayor tries to sue this, but say, oh, it's not so big, it's not so tall. But the mayor would not like that in his backyard. I bet not any of you would like this tank in your backyard. So think about that. There's plenty of farm acreage in Hooper where they could have built this. You know, they could have had it acres away from a house. And there's plenty of neighbors here tonight that are against it. Most of them don't want to stand up and talk. So I'm going to turn around and say, how many of you are against it? How many?
It has messed up our houses, all the equipment. I also live across the street from Bruce, and I have cracks all through my ceiling.
You need to wait and say speak.
I'm just saying,
Just because we can't
they're not
record it.
wrong.
We can't record it if you don't talk to them.
And when they were building over there, I'm on 51, a little bit above 5100, a little jog. I could hear them pounding over there, that far away. And I've gone to people all around my neighborhood. All of them are against it. The problem is they don't want to come down here and speak. But they're against it, all of them. And they just won't come to the meeting. They don't want to stand up, but they all hate this whole thing. So please vote no on this and stand up for the residents of Hooper. They will have this in their backyards. Again, it's huge. Disturbing to the whole neighborhood next to these homes that it should not be. And they do think that they can do anything they want. Anything. And that whole thing, just like Bruce said, is wrong. That it happens in a neighborhood like this, in the middle of the houses. Thank you.
Thank you.
Can I ask too, for the people making comments, if you have enough time, I don't want to take away from the time that you're commenting, but if you have suggestions of other things that could be done, I mean, if we need the water and a well needs to go in, it would be nice just to have maybe some helpful suggestions or something if you have an alternative to solve the issue.
Can you put this picture up?
I can, but I can make that.
It needs to be wider, so it shows all the your size, so it's obviously
A little bit better than not.
okay, that's okay. I'm Kathy Taylor, 4745 West, 5100 South. I live right next to where this well is proposed. As you can see, there are at least 8 neighbors that are within a rock throw of it. There are 12 that live in that area, and besides that, what happens when the water tank fails and it floods? What happens then? And what about the retention ponds? They're not going to be covered. The mosquitoes are come there like crazy. You know, I've lived in Hooper all my life, and Hooper people just don't do this to Hooper people. I would hope that you'd consider this and vote this down. And they can build a well over by Sinclair where they drilled the second test site. That's my recommendation. Lynette Dunkley at 5070 South 4700 West.
And I'm one of those people she's talking about, because this is scary up here, and I don't like to come to these, because most of the time I find that it's already been voted on. So I feel like sometimes it's a waste to come and fight against something, because it's already been decided. But the main thing that I would say is the solution would be to build it somewhere in a field where people have a choice to build or live by, something like that. And then also, my last comment is I would like for whoever votes on this to please vote as though you lived in our neighborhood. Thank you.
Garth Hubbard, 5156 South, 5725 West, and number. I just have a geology question. Brian, can you pull up that the plat? How do they pick? Is it an aquifer, a river? I've heard like in Ogden, or is it a pool? I'm curious to know what the process is to pick a spot. That's what I want to know. Thank you. I may have missed that. Did somebody tell me that?
Oh, I don't know, I'm just saying I think they would probably be the ones qualified to answer that.
Yeah.
And you can do that one of two ways. You could wait and gather up any questions that might be relative to them. That's probably the more efficient way to do it.
I'm Debbie Maradoni. I live at 5245 South, 5100 West. And I just question from the beginning the thoughts of the water company purchasing this particular place to build a water tower. It doesn't seem to me to have been the right choice in the beginning. And I know all of these people, and it's just through the block from me. And like it's been said, you don't do this to other neighbors. You don't take away their views, and you don't ruin the property that they have. It just doesn't seem kind to me, and I question the decision from the beginning. And that's pretty much what I wanted to say. Thank you.
Good evening, Travis Bates, 5008 West, 4950 South. I live in Hooper Landings. I can't see this thing. I can't hear this thing. I drive by this thing really slowly, trying to avoid the sheriff sitting on 4700 West. I find it interesting. We had Mr. Perez up here earlier. We were raking him over the coals over a mountain of dirt that nobody can see. And the water department wants to sneak into a neighborhood and build a massive tank in an existing neighborhood. I think there's apples and apples there, or apples and oranges, or however you want to view that. I think there are other sites. There is a site over by Sinclair. Definitely not accusing the water company of anything, but they're going where the value is. It's probably cheaper for them to build where they want to build this instead of the Sinclair site. The Sinclair site makes more sense for the people of Hooper. I think we're asking 12 to 15 people to stand up and take one on the chin for thousands and thousands of people that live inside the water district. They didn't really talk about the water district very much. This works for Hooper. Yes, it does cover Hooper. It also covers West Point, and it covers a lot of other city ground that I don't think it's fair for these 12 to 15 families to have to shoulder that burden. Thank you.
My name is Katie Parkinson. I'm at 4849 West, 5100 South, which is, I think, 3 or 4 lots away from this. On January 20th of 2020, there was a planning commission held with this issue in mind. And many voiced their opinions about it. It was kind of like it is right today, and we all didn't want it there. A lot of fears about what it will do to our property. We are zoned, residential, not business. We all those lots along there, we fully use our property and enjoy it. And want it left the way it is. And then another meeting was held. On that meeting, they tabled it and put it for February 13th of 2020. On that one, it was held like this, it was voiced like this, and they denied it, which was great, thank you. No conditional use permit. So they knew that, and knowing that, they still drilled that well, and we did go through months of misery. I even had them come to my house and listen because they took down the barrier sound shield because they didn't think it would bother any of that direction. Well, it bothered us to listen to it, and they didn't quit at night. They went all the way through, and it was miserable, and I don't want the building that they're going to do. It's going to be another 3 years of construction and damaging our roads with their heavy equipment. And then this kind of just come up. We all thought you denied, the commission denied them. And then back early this year, they showed up again, built the road, started drilling. I think it blindsided us and even the mayor. And we had another meeting, of course, and we all did this again. And even at that meeting, they put out a paper that explained to us that you hadn't given them a conditional use permit, but you couldn't tell them not to drill the well. But don't worry, kind of, because we didn't tell them they could have it. So at this point, it kind of feels like it's getting ramrodded down, even though we've done this much. And why did they go and spend all that money when they knew it wasn't a good spot for it? And they knew how we felt. So at this time, 3 minutes isn't enough to tell you all the trouble it's going to cost. It's just, you need to look at it because it's not going to be fun having that there. But once again, all I can do is ask you. We're saying it again. We're here doing it again. And they've heard it how many times. We don't want it there. We're asking the people that we vote in to not, honor what we want. It's residential. It's not commercial. I don't disagree that we need the water, but they had a chance a long time ago to put it somewhere else. I know that little piece of property was a good buy for them, I imagine, but it's not the place for it. So please, don't let them bully us into having something that we didn't want. We told them loud and clear, and saying it again, please, and I'm asking you, please deny this conditional use permit. Thanks.
I'm Stacy Judkins at 556 South 6300 West in Hopper. This is my community. I grew up on 5100. I know Bruce, I know Dunkeys, I know Drapers. I know all these people. Hills. I see you, but you probably don't remember me. But this was my neighborhood, and these water people, they just want to come in and bully these people, and it's going to actually decrease their value of their homes. They're not going to be able to sell it commercially. Would you like a decrease of $50,000 or more on what you're investing into? These people have worked hard for everything they have. Don't do this to their neighborhood. It's not the right thing.
Thank you. Any other comments?
Let me go up again, I'm giving my suggestion.
I'm Marvin Zeller. I'm the chairman of the Water Improvement District. And I want to at least make some things clearer than what they seem to feel. One is that once we have that in, it will not be noisy, it will not be a problem, and we will have it landscaped so it will look very nice, much nicer than it looks right now. And I've heard them say there's all sorts of holding ponds There will be one holding pond, and it will not have water in it very often. It will drain out as soon as we have to flush every so often, and that will drain right out and go. So there will not be a breeding place for mosquitoes and all that type of thing. We are doing our best to make sure that we get water for everybody within Hooper City. We don't have one well in Hooper at all right now. And so we're trying to get one here, and we didn't look at that as a place of trying to destroy anybody's property or lives. We looked at it as a place that it would be back in the back where it would be out of the way. It's not up close to the road. It'll be back toward the back. And if that ground develops in back there, they'll know that it's there. It will be quiet. Our people will only be going in there probably once a day, doing the checking and making sure everything's fine. And we will continue to make sure all that property is well manicured and looks good. We're not going to go in there and make a mess. But we do need to furnish water, and these people like water, and they'll be drinking that water as well.
I'm sorry, I'm up here again. Kathy Taylor, 4745 West, 5100 South. Mr. Zogg states that it's going to be well landscaped and it will look very nice. What about the 8-foot chain link fence with 3 rows of barbed wire across the top? That to me is, I'm living next to a prison.
My name is Richard Call. I live at 6440 West, 5500 South. I'm nowhere near what they have, but I have heard the city can be sued by the water district if you don't say yes. Is that true? And if it is, that ain't fair to these people. I don't live nowhere near that tank. But if we're gonna get sued, we all need to know. That's what you're hiding from. Because I don't think you want that tank. I wouldn't want that thing.
Thank you.
I didn't need my eight minutes. Do I get 8?
3 minutes. Thank you. Can you address the question regarding?
I can say generally, Hooper has never done anything or been guided by any way due to a threat of a lawsuit. I mean, I've been here almost 20 years, and Hooper City has never been guided or pushed around by a threat of a lawsuit. I can say that definitively. So there is no way, in any way, the decision you make should be guided by some kind of a threat of a lawsuit. If that makes sense.
I don't know if any of the commissioners have heard of any rumors of threat of lawsuits, so I'm not aware of any of that. Are there other comments this evening?
I'm Sienna Purcell. I live at 4815 West, 5100 South. I'm 2 doors away from their building site. And I actually have a question for the representatives of the water company. How are you going to compensate the homeowners that have to deal with damage to their housing, an ugly, terribly tall water tank that's going to be sitting in their backyard across from their houses? And how are you going to keep down the complaints about the big ugly wall that they're going to add in for a sound border?
Yeah, what is the sound barrier? I agree with that.
Last year when I looked at it, it was a big tarp on a wood frame. It did no good. I could see over the tarp from my backyard and watch them build and watch them drill. So how are you going to compensate these people?
So you need to direct your questions to the commissioner.
Yes, sir.
So my question back to you then is,
installed it
compensation?
on the property in front of the Sinclair, and
No,
according
you have a suggestion on compensation. That was your question.
they could pay the homeowners for the damages done to their houses.
And how would that be determined? Based on, who would determine the amount of the damages?
It could be determined by a building company or a repair company that would do repairs to the foundations of the homes.
Okay? Valid point.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Well, I did think about that.
Sir, you can come on up.
And I didn't know
Go ahead.
who do we ask for, if they're granted this, I think I should get a compensation for the noise, and because I have all windows south facing to that, and I get all of that noise, because it's just glass.
My thoughts are on that is that you would need to go get a bid from a contractor that would do those types of repairs, and then you would need to work out a civil situation with.
So we'd have to go.
Doesn't have anything to do with the city as far as repairs goes. That's between you and the water company.
So same if we filed, say, a cease and desist in 5th District Court to discuss before they start what our compensations will be for the noise pollution, what they can do to prevent us from having to get all that noise and light during the 3 years that we're gonna have. I mean, I want wood shutters up in front of all those windows, because I will not be able to sleep with all that light and noise coming in.
Do you
It's
mind?
just right there.
I just was gonna ask your name one more time. I have all these notes and I can't remember.
I'm Tracy Wallace, 4718 West, 5100 South, and I actually called that state engineer before they got that drilling permit, and I was told that they would always get granted those permits for those tests. But afterwards, they would publicize it in a newspaper, and then we could react to it, which never happened. I also signed, he told me, he actually walked me through the process to get all the information through the state engineering department, because they are not required by law to put any notifications like you guys have to put on the Utah website. They do not have to notify us. You have to sign up for their notifications to get any kind of notifications. And I was told then that they're pretty much always granted, and that if you have issues, you're gonna have to come basically here. So I'm here. I don't think they need 2 wells. I think 1 well is sufficient. They have wells all over. And at the last city council meeting on this, when they were doing the test drilling, they were talking, they had them even up in Roy, but everywhere they have them is in a commercial area. The ones that they've mentioned, the Kents, the Harmons, they're all up in, and the Sinclair. Those are that's where they belong. They don't belong in
The one
subdivision.
behind Kent's is actually in a residential area behind Kent's. We just use
So it's
Kent's.
between Kent and the residential area.
It's
The
not-
one's right behind
It's
Harmons.
basically in their backyard.
I used to live in Royce. The one I know of is behind Harmons. The other thing is, like they said, the pumping, they also can't pump that sewage. Obviously, we don't have sewer up where we're at. But they also can't pump it into Roy, because Roy's getting the same notice as we are. Because they pump to the same place we pump, because they got property up there too. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm Ken Parkinson. I live at 4839 West, 5100 South. I was just going to comment on this gentleman back here when he was saying, well, we'll have it landscaped and we're not going to have much water in the retention pond. That's minimal as compared to the great big tank that's going to be there all the time. You got the big pump house that's going to be there. I just understand that the other one was, what, 22 feet tall on the peaks? So that's the issue right there. Those great big tanks sitting there taking up that space. I know when they were drilling that, it was atrocious. I mean, we could feel the pounding and all that. We just lived right here. And they had a skirt all the way around it except for on the west side, and that's where it come. We had them come out and they listened and they said, wow, that is noisy. The engines come out. But anyway, the point is the big tall tank and the big pump house, that's gonna be the issue. You know, not the landscaping, not the retention ponds, that.
I got a question for you, and maybe if anybody else has got a comment afterwards, I should have said this earlier, but is there a height of the tank that you are okay with?
No. Ground level, flat, just ground. Underground.
You'll have a pump house there too, so
Yeah.
what's the height of the pump house gotta be?
Put it at the Sinclair station.
Yeah, the Sinclair
They
station.
said that the pump house would be approximately 22 foot to the peak, which is typical home, and the tanks are going to be 20 feet above ground.
Yeah, and it just takes up too much space. That's the thing, not the landscaping, not the other things you mentioned.
Thank you. Appreciate your comments. We appreciate everyone's comments this evening. It helps us as a planning commission. What have you got for us, Brian?
So this is the area behind Kent's. You can kind of see, just give you a visual about what we're talking about. I assume, maybe this is a bad assumption, but I assume it's going to be somewhat similar to this site. Is that correct?
Yeah, that tank here, actually, that only sticks up, I believe, it's 9 feet, 8 or 9 feet above grade. And that, I mean, if we need to, we could go smaller. What we're trying to do is make economies of scale.
How tall is this pump house here? Probably,
I guess, around 15 feet.
okay.
And that's quite a bit smaller than the building would be constructed.
Is that one able to be put underground a ways? Is that why it's the height that it is?
That floor is maybe a foot below grade.
So,
Just a smaller well.
what about the diameter of that? Because for me, we approve like pole barns and shops all the time. I mean, we have one tonight that was 30 feet. But that's 100 feet. The proposed well is 100 feet in diameter. What's the diameter of this well right here? Do you know?
It's about 50 or 60 feet in circumference.
Yeah,
It's about half of what they're thinking of doing to us.
Well, certainly can't be circumference.
Yeah,
Maybe diameter.
the diameter of that is about 50. It's 50 to 55, somewhere in there.
The one up there, the picture that we're looking
The
at.
picture that you're looking at
Okay.
there, yes.
That's in rural. Okay.
I'll show you where.
And so that tank there, that is,
There's Kent's. There's this one.
that was strictly built for the chlorine contact time that I was talking about. And what we're proposing to this other site, we are proposing actually storage so that we've got the equalization storage for the water system to operate so that the well doesn't have to come on here as frequently. I mean, otherwise, we'd be filling up, we fill up this. What happens is we'd be filling up the tank more often, kicking that well on more frequently. And what we're wanting to do is run the well for longer periods of time and then have that storage capacity available for use within the system. Is why we would go with a larger tank. So technically it could go smaller than this, but smaller than what we're proposing. But what we are proposing is a storage facility, not just a contact type chamber.
So I know that you provide water for Hooper and parts of West Point. Is it West Haven as well?
Yes.
So I'm just curious if you've looked anywhere in West Haven, because West Haven's growth is skyrocketing. It's one of the fastest growing cities from what I understand, and where they're using a good chunk of this I'm just curious if you've looked anywhere over there to see if there's any property that,
We have, and Scott can help me remember the timing on this, but we did look at, there was some property, Jay Thompson, I believe is the name. We looked over there and weren't able to acquire that property and well right. So it's not for a lack of attempts.
Jim Thompson is Silver Saddle Estates, that's in Hooper.
unless he owns other property that maybe we're not aware of. So, can you explain just a little bit, I mean, can a well go anywhere? I know you have to drill down, but is there any way to know, you know, if you see property for sale somewhere, or maybe it's not for sale, but you could approach a landowner, is there any way to know ahead of time, without doing the test, that that's a possible place to put a well that would?
Yeah, so one of the first questions, this gentleman here, what was his name? Art?
Garth.
Garth. Mr. Hubbard, I think. He asked what's the process. So the process that we go through is first, we asked for a hydrogeologist to do a study of the area to see if there was anywhere that was more favorable than another for drilling a well. And what was determined, I mean, geology is, all underground, and you're taking your best guess off of what the science literature says. And out in this area, so it's all generally about the same in this area. And what it came down to was where is the land available, where is infrastructure available for us to tie into, and power. I mean, power's not really an issue that's pretty available everywhere, but the infrastructure that we would tie into is a major consideration, and land availability. The district is always looking for available land, so if somebody's got some land for sale, we could consider that as well. And the reason, I mean, it's been brought up, the Sinclair site, and the Sinclair site is not a bad location. The reason we are proposing this site first is because, actually, based off of the test wells, it is more efficient. It is a better producing well, and so we thought we'd go for the better site before we go for the other site.
So,
What does that mean?
I'm sorry?
If it pumps more water?
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah, so water will come into the well more easily here than it does at the 5500, the Sinclair.
so you wouldn't need as big of a tank here if the water came into it easier?
We would not put a tank here if there were no well here.
Well, yeah.
There's the tank is gonna. It makes sense.
What I'm getting at is if the water flows into it easier, does that mean you can use a smaller tank?
No, it just means that it's more efficient, less pumping cost, and less impact on the aquifer, on the surrounding wells.
Just so we're looking at both sides of the coin, I would assume if you have higher costs, those costs are passed on to the people that use the water.
Yes.
I know a few years ago, culinary water bill, I saw a jump in that, and I called and spoke with Mr. Zog, and he explained, that there's a lot of development going on, need for other wells, and that had contributed to the reason for that. And so I think we have to consider that as well when we're looking at this, just something else to think about, so.
I don't think that I asked this before. I don't think I got a clear answer anyway. Can you speak to and I don't know if you or Mr. Zog or whoever could talk about the quality of water at this location versus the Sinclair station?
I'd have to look at the report specifically, but I believe they're about the same.
There you go.
So it should
There's
be
your
at the
answer.
Sinclair station is where it should be put.
Yep.
So the question was also brought up about the sewer and not having the sewer in that area. So what are your plans? How would you address that?
To be honest, I had understood that there was sewer available in 5100, that there's a vacuum system there.
No,
There is no
sewer.
sewer. There are people that want to build
No
homes there
infrastructure.
for the last 3 years and have not been able to because there is no sewer and the city won't allow them to put in septic tanks. There's a sewer line, but there is no sewer station or sewer pump. None of us have sewer. We're all on septic tank. That's what you would have to put in.
The city wouldn't tell them that. It's actually Weaver Morgan Health Department that determines septic systems.
So,
But there is plans to put a pump station,
It's not there.
right, on the Brooks or the Beth Christensen.
Correct.
Someday, yes.
Yeah.
They're trying to, but there's no way they can, you guys got the red notice right there in front. The problem is Governor Cox did try to release money to
I'm
the
sorry,
sewer.
I'm sorry, you need to approach the microphone, please.
Governor Cox did release some money to the sewer districts to expand the sewer waste department, like the one out there in Marriott Slaterville. Currently, they're not done, so they can't, we have nowhere else to put extra sewer. Basically, they can't process it. There's not enough room. And so until they get that money and they expand that, we're on septic. And Roy is having a similar problem because there's one section where we pump up there and they got the same notices that from the waste treatment plant that they too are getting more than they can handle.
I had another question for you about the design and if you could address the 8-foot high fences and barbed wire and stuff.
So that, we don't want people in the site. We come to think of it, our 4000 South site does not have the barbed wire, so we probably wouldn't do that.
It does have the 8-foot chain link fence, but it does not have the 3 rows of barbed wire across the top. No, it
Remind me,
doesn't.
Scott, what have you got on the railroad side versus the residential side? The residential side, I believe, is a 6-foot vinyl. And on the railroad, there is a chain link, but I'm not sure of the height of it.
It's a different site.
Yeah, and what about the Roy site since it has that pulled up?
I'm sorry?
The Roy site that's pulled up now, does that look like just a 6-foot chain link?
Yeah, that's a 6-foot chain link with security wire on the top surrounding the site. So on the non-residential sites, it's the chain link with the razor wire, or the security wire on top.
So my question is, why, have you discarded the possibility of putting this well and tank on 5500 South Sinclair? We're calling it the Sinclair side when it's actually across the street from Sinclair.
Right.
Have you discarded that completely?
We have not, as we've discussed with the city on ways to dispose of the water that will be produced during construction and during operation. There appears to be significantly greater modifications to the storm drainage system will need to be made at the 5500 South site. And so this is the 5100 South site is less impactful as far as the storm drain system modifications goes.
So there still will need some modification to it?
Yes.
And what about so you drilled the test wells, how much more construction and drilling is involved with taking it from a test well site to a full-blown site?
It would be about the same effort as what was seen during construction of the test well. It's about the same time frame because now we know what materials we need to have on site, and we'll have those on site, and we'll just build the well as we dig the hole, basically.
And what have you done, or do you do, or will you do, for damages to homes due to construction vehicles?
I'm not aware.
We haven't discussed that, so we would have to evaluate that as, see what the damage and what proof they have of damage would be done. And that's something that we hadn't discussed as a board, so.
Brandon,
Well, I mean, my only response would be that would probably be an issue between the landowner and the company, and it wouldn't really involve the city.
their insurance claim that their insurance company would subrogate back to them?
Yeah, it might be, I hate to say exactly what I can say would be a private issue between the two entities, the company and then the landowner. I mean, it would be no different than any kind of development that might happen in the city. If somebody comes in to develop something and causes damages, it could potentially be some litigation between the person who was damaged and the one that caused the damage. It'd be no different. But I don't know that that's something that would be of concern related to this particular request for you.
What's the decibel level when that pump's running? Let's say you start pumping water. I mean,
Noise-wise,
noise.
I doubt they would even hear it. When that, you're talking drilling or the pump once it's
No,
in?
let's say the pump's in, the well's in, and now we're starting to produce water for residents. So now the pump starts every so often to fill the tank. We know, I mean, is the noise level such that,
The pump would be inside the pump house,
okay,
and so you'd have to be standing pretty close to ever hear it.
okay,
I don't think 20 feet away you would hear it. The other concern I have with these folks is that if they're thinking that we're doing damage to their home, then we need to have pictures taken before we start so that we know exactly if we created any cracks in the walls or ceilings. All those would have to have pictures for us to have ahead of time, so we would not be liable for whatever.
That'd be pretty tough if they already have the damage now from the test site though, right?
Yeah, and I would like to see what that is.
I got another question for you. I've heard from everybody else, not from you guys, the construction time period. They're citing 3 years, is that accurate?
No,
What is the construction time period start to finish on this?
we're doing the well, talking about the well, right?
The whole thing is gonna cause,
Yes, you,
vehicles to come in, noise, all that we're talking about.
So construction of the well would take about 2 months. And that is when the vehicles, of course, for construction, the well takes place. And then the site basically would be dormant for about a year, or just over a year, while we do design and get that all out to bid. And then there would be between a year and a half of construction on the building. If we have to do a filter plant, there will be about a year and a half. If we don't have to do the filter plant, it will be less than that.
3 years.
2 years, 8 months. Is the 3 years considering the year of dormant time?
Yes, yeah.
So yes,
I can read your statement on your presentation, just one statement, may I?
go ahead. That will answer for me. Thank you.
only one other concern I have with all these folks. Not once have any of them come to our meetings and talked to us when we've had our open meetings. And we've advertised every month when we have them. Not one of them have ever come and tried to find out from us what's going on.
Where do you advertise those at? Where do you advertise those meetings?
Where are those advertised?
Where and how?
On the public notice website, just like the city does.
They're districts, so they also have to do the same.
Stacy Judkins again, Human Information. This is very desirable landscaping, I just wanted to point out. And also, since the house is owned by the water district, will you be taking up residence while this is happening?
What was that? I
Will
didn't
they
hear
be
that.
taking up residence in this rental home that they own while all of this is happening?
Will they live there themselves? Is that what you're asking?
Yes, in this very desirable area that will look like that.
All right.
Just for a second. Again, they have fair warning that we didn't want it in a residential area. We have to live there. And this is, the noise couldn't open my windows and enjoy the weather because this is what I heard. So, again, they knew very well, I don't care how much it costs. They knew a long time ago we did not want this there, and there are other places. This might have been a cheap little piece of land they could grab. When it went up for sale, it wasn't very long and it was gone. So, just please do what we've asked all along, is don't give them a conditional use permit for something that we let them know a long time ago we didn't want it there. Thanks.
Thank you.
Will you remind me your name?
Katie Parkinson.
Thank you.
Okay.
Seems like we're getting a lot of the same people with the same comments, so just trying to, if it's something.
I just wanted to answer the gentleman's question. May I do that? So on the timing, I just wanted to read, this is their exact presentation on the timing, and it says, "It is anticipated that this project will span several years, starting with the construction of a well early in 2024 and ending with construction of the building and the water tank commencing in late 26, just 3 years. 3 years of construction." These are exact words. There'll be construction over there. One other thing nobody's even talked about is the home they have in front that they don't want. They've rented it for 5 years now. People have been evicted in there twice. It's just drugs right next to me. I walk out my front door and that's what I have, and I walk out my back door and I got a water tank. It's just unfair. Hooper people shouldn't do this to Hooper people. There's better decisions. Thank you.
Thank you, Bruce. All right. Hopefully that's what's not right.
It's not right. I have to look at that.
It's only 9:20.
It's only 9:20, not 10:20.
It feels like it.
Are there any other public comments? Otherwise, we're going to. I think we've heard everybody's opinions. We appreciate it. I'm going to close the public comment and bring it back here to our commissioners for discussion. My first thought on it is it does really conflict with the residential area. And I think the 5500 South possibility is more desirable because it is out in an open field and not around a lot of people.
I mean, it kind of clinched it for me when they said there's no difference in the water between that
Yeah,
sites.
there's
Like,
no-
why would we put it in our backyard if we can put it?
In somebody else's backyard.
Well, it's in the commercial zone.
I'd kind of like to see that property by Sinclair, just
Yeah.
kind of see, you know, are we gonna have another meeting and then we're gonna have.
We can't hear you.
Sorry, I'm trying to talk into this. I'm just curious how many homes are right around that Sinclair property.
It's all, well, there's a few, but it's
More open.
much more open. It's not developed like a subdivision is right now.
Does the water district own that whole piece?
Yes.
They own 8 acres in an open.
Yeah, when they're trying to squeeze it into 2 acres, up by us.
They own 8 acres.
And it's commercial.
Yeah.
So
5,500 square feet.
So it closed the public comment, so please be courteous to the commissioners so they can discuss.
My thoughts are there's no sewer, and I think
Right.
that's a big problem.
And it says here in their narrative addressing these items is that it's anticipated that the filtered material will be pumped into the sanitary sewer. Specifically, and that's more or less 20,000 gallons of muddy water. Our sewer system has a hard time, as it is, without taking this 20,000 gallons of muddy water every 6 to 12 months. I mean, true, that's, maybe once or twice a year, but it's still a lot of capacity that our sewer system doesn't really have. And there is no sewer over there.
That's because even if it were over by Sinclair, they'd still probably tie into the sewers, right? So.
Does the Sinclair site have sewer?
No.
Thank you.
We don't have sewer on 5500 South?
There is sewer down this way, yes. But just to clarify, there's sewer sewage and then there's wastewater. The wastewater does not go to the sewer system, so just to clarify that.
So where do they plan on pumping this? Into the sanitary sewer?
Storm drain.
Well, it says sanitary sewer on their narrative.
Yeah, and that's not the test water, the dirty water. That's like for the
bathroom for the workers.
Yeah, the bathrooms, the test cockpits and everything inside the well house.
So that's, so in reality, they couldn't even put it over there, because they'd have to have a septic fill, right?
Well, just to the east, we do have a trunk line. Right now it's dry. That's what Brooks Estates is getting held up on. And so,
So they would have to have the pump system in.
that pump system needs to be.
But once Brooks Estates puts in their pump system, then 5500 South could tap into it.
Well, on the information they gave us, it says, if filtration is needed, let's see, sorry. I'm on the wrong spot, hold on, I just had it. After analysis and selection of the filtration technology, if needed, Hooper City and the Central Weaver Sewer District will be approached with specific data to determine an acceptable discharge rate and concentration of filtered material into the sewer system. So that's not just talking about the bathrooms, right?
No, that's not. So, yeah, maybe we should ask a little more clarification on that.
So that's one of my concerns is the sewer, the fact that, I came into this thinking, well, a 20-foot high building, like I said, we do those all the time with pole barns and things like that, where if somebody wanted to put a barn back there and it obstructed your view, there's not a lot we can do about that. However, the fact that this is 100 feet in diameter, that's significant.
And it's in a residential area.
And it is in a residential area. The fact that the quality is the same on either of those wells, that was a huge thing for me as well. When they came back in 2020, part of the reason we denied that was because the conditional use permit would have expired in a year, and they were saying it was about 20 years out. Another reason was that we had asked them to look at other locations and see if there was something that would fit a little bit better. And I feel like they've tried to do that, which they've got this property over by the Sinclair. My feelings are, I would lean towards encouraging them to pursue the property by the Sinclair first. And in the meantime, looking for something maybe in West Haven, because they're utilizing a lot of it. I don't see this changing. Down the road, if they decide to do another well, that's my opinion. I feel like we've got another viable option that would hopefully be less invasive, so.
Any other comments from our commissioners? No? All right. Well, this time then I would entertain a motion on this request for a conditional use permit.
I'm gonna make a motion that we deny the conditional use permit for the water well located at 4769 West, 5100 South.
I'll second.
We have a motion to deny, and we have a second from Commissioner Widdowson. All those in favor of that motion?
Aye.
It's unanimous. Sorry, but we need. Okay. At the end of each of our planning commission meetings, we do open it up for citizen comment for anything that has not been on the agenda this evening. And so we will do that at this time. Remember that your comments are limited to 3 minutes. If you have anything you'd like to say regarding anything that was not on tonight's agenda.
I was just trying to see what ordinances that, which ordinances that I was.
Okay. Is anyone coming to the